As always, when I have a guest, I am delighted and excited. We have Michael Miller, who is the CEO of SoundHealth. Now, you may have seen Michael on my show before. We've been friends for, I don't even know how many years at this point, but a long time. And he always has the opportunity to share with people in a way that you wouldn't expect. You would think somebody who's a CEO is going to come across a little bit, we'll say stuffy, not within his program at all. And the idea of just doing what he does, that doesn't really fit either. So if you're thinking, what, wait, this doesn't make any sense, you're going to see today a gentleman whose heart really is in the right place to make a transformational difference with humanity. And he has the wherewithal to connect with people and make that happen. So without further ado, Michael, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Halley. That was such a gracious introduction. I appreciate it. And we have been friends for a long time. What I've always been attracted to in you is you have incredible energy. People can see that energy and they just gravitate towards you.
Thank you.
I think some of that, just a tiny bit, may have rubbed off.
Okay, well, that's
me.
a good thing. and how'd that happen?
I don't know. But I've been blessed that people are being attracted to me on a global audience that have a method or a way or an innovation that improves the human condition. And what's magical in all this is I'm not actually out looking for them.
Right.
It's the one knows another, has a connection to another, and they find their way to me. The general comment that I get from people, which I take as a huge compliment, is I'm not judgmental in what these people come to me with. So our mission at SoundHealth, I just want to get that out there, is to improve the human condition around the world. And literally around the world. It doesn't necessarily have to be taking place right here.
I'm going to interject here, though, because so far everybody's lost. They're like, so what does this man do? And I think it's important that they understand you're kind of a broker. You create situations where people can connect and share information, share products, share services, ideas, and then you help connect them to other people who can master that situation.
SoundHealth is what's called tech transfer agency. So people that have an innovation that can benefit others come to me for us to package it and then bring it to the marketplace, or commercialization, if you will. Actually, we are the very last quarter of a mile in a business that's looking to get acquired or taken to a much larger distribution point. That fact brings innovation from around the world to us to look at. And the interesting thing is how we make that happen is we don't judge what the opportunity is when it's presented to me. If someone says, I have something that just sounds absolutely extraordinary, I take that as that's probably what's so. What we do, though, is we then bring unbiased scientific validation to the equation to prove it. So people are attracted to that because they don't have access to that unbiased scientific validation. Correct. The people that bring me these innovations are doctors, inventors, engineers, moms, regular people.
Exactly.
And it's that they had an issue that they had to solve. And they went and created a solution for that. SoundHealth focuses on medical and extraordinary innovations that help people around the world. And it doesn't matter what their background is.
The why becomes bigger than the how. And that's when I feel like they seek you out and your company because you have, again, the wherewithal to make those connections. And because you don't judge, you just allow them to say, this is what's going on, this is what needs to happen, this is my reason for it. That's where things shift. You said something to me the other day about being a transformational leader instead of a transactional one. I love that. And I think it's so fitting for who you are because really and truly over the years, you've been very successful. Thank God you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from or if your kids are safe. That's not a consideration. All of that, thankfully, is covered, is good. Your home life is good. Your social life is good. Now you have the ability to play and help others. I mean, how amazing is that?
Let's define transaction versus transformational.
You got it.
As a transactional person, I spent my life telling people, we need to get this done. Let's do that way, or
Right.
make sure that has been completed. That's okay, but you can't change the world like that. To change the world, you have to be transformational, where you have a vision, and that possibility of the vision becomes the opportunity for someone looking at it, and you don't have to give the instructions of what to do from there.
Well, what you said before about people just keep showing up. When you think in terms of the law of attraction, when you think in terms of manifestation, when you think of terms of being in a state of gratitude, everything goes on automatic because you're coming from the right
It's in
space.
flow. So
exactly.
And, this goes back to a frequency. I think that we are communicating on a frequency
Agreed.
that is not perhaps language. And that attraction brings people together where we're all rowing in the same direction. That's another aspect of being transformational. Being transformational is the ability to assemble people at the table, even the enemy, not my enemy, but the perceived enemy, where once everyone is enlightened, if you will, the enemy becomes the partner, and everyone wins in taking what the concept is or the idea or the innovation
Right.
to the marketplace.
When you do that and you put that focus and attention towards that, energetically you shift. How often, really think about this, do you go and give a presentation somewhere and you've not given your card out to someone and yet they track you down? They find a way because there was something in that moment that resonated with them. And oftentimes I find it is not really the words. And what you were saying earlier about energy, there's a strength in the belief. There is a strength in the commitment. There is a strength in wanting to influence in a positive way. That's what's perceived.
Halley, I think that an important component, though, is authenticity.
Absolutely.
When I meet people in
You
these,
think you're authentic?
I say, look, here's the good, here's the bad. I know what I'm really good at, but I have no idea about the things I don't even know that I don't know about.
Right.
And that's kind of exciting because you get what you see here. And I'm really interested in making sure that authenticity occurs around the table in all of the players. That does open up a lot of opportunities for us. But I do want to share something with you that's really important. The method of transformation in this type of work is where people have to see that this possibility is their opportunity. And not say you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way. Because when someone sees what you're up to as their opportunity, and by the way, I don't even know what their opportunity is, so I can't even pretend to forecast how it's all going to go down.
Right.
So long as we're ready to have just open conversations. But let me just tell you what we have a need for, because I would like to use a little of this airtime to do that. So many people say, Mike, how can I get involved? How can I help you?
Right.
How can I get behind getting this cancer product to people? The trigger of what gets something through the, if you will, over the hump is getting the unbiased scientific validation. What's great is these innovations come to me, they're fully developed. They already have market share in whatever country they're coming from. They already are a type of care that has data behind it. What we need to do, though, to bring it to the next level is to get unbiased scientific validation where the people that are doing the work are not influenced in the outcome of the work. They don't have a financial pony in the work either.
Right. They don't have a hand in the pot.
So they're looking at it and they'll say it either worked or it didn't work. It's just that flat, right?
Correct.
But in order to get the unbiased scientific validation requires a philanthropic gift to fund that study. So if you think about where people put their money in philanthropy, oftentimes there are large sums of money into a long and patient return. Patient meaning 10, 15, 20 years.
Correct.
And in their lifetime, they may not see, the fruits of that check that they write.
And I hate to do this to you, but we've got to take a quick break. We will be right back with the Halley Elise Show and my guest, Michael Miller. Welcome back. If you are first tuning in today, my guest is Michael Miller, and he is the CEO of SoundHealth. Prior to taking break, we were just talking about how people can help and what that looks like. And if you're going, wait, I just turned on what? Think of it this way. If you have the opportunity to make your imprint on humanity, to help elevate humanity, to be able to help transform, would you be interested? Because that's what Michael does every day. So, Michael, before we took the break, or as we were kind of transitioning to break, you were talking about people showing up all over the world just to be supportive, just to help. What does that look like, and what does that mean for them? So, for instance, if I live in Timbuktu, and I've seen one of your broadcasts, and I go, wow, this guy is making a difference. He's bringing innovation to the world that's going to help people be healthy, to rid us of diseases, to make our lives easier, and I want to be involved. What do I do? And they contact you. Let's say they offer, I'm going to use $5 as an example, and they say, I can't do much, but I really want to make a difference here. Put my $5 in the pony there. And they're not looking for any sort of payback. It's not the same as a money market account or some sort of investment where you're checking every day to see where it's gone. What do they get out of it? And I don't mean to be facetious, but other than knowing that they've done good, what do they get out of it? Is there something else? Is there an acknowledgement? Is it just simply a matter of their heart can be happy they've done good? What does that look like?
Halley, this is an aspect that I never saw coming. And it is probably the most fulfilling, and I just want to say it's love, actually. So people are watching and looking at the kind of work we're doing, and they are asking, how do we get involved? How can we help you? The trick in what we're trying to achieve in each one of these cases is to get that unbiased validation, which is where we go hire a major, world-renowned, recognized research institution to validate the claim of this medical miracle. At this point, we'll call it a medical miracle because it doesn't have unbiased science behind it.
Correct.
In order for the outcome of that study to be unbiased, the dollars that funded it can't technically have an economic influence in that study. So the only way to fuel that, the only way to pay for that, is through charitable donations. And what we're looking for, though, are not giant sums of money for each one of these. That's what's really great. It's the last couple of yards on that business's life cycle to get it to the next part. So what those folks can get, whatever they want. I mean, we can work with. So here's the thing. I'm really authentic when I tell you. Tell me what you think we need to do. I don't have all the answers, but I do know this. Without those people's input, it won't get to where it needs to be. So they could get recognition. They could be part of the packaging. They could be part of knowing. I absolutely want to honor those people for making that happen, whether it was $1 a quarter, $10, $50,000.
So you will listen to whatever it is they have to share in respect to their belief or their perception of what's supposed to take place with this, yes?
I think that is how I know I'm growing, is that I want to hear that. I'm taking these ideas and concepts and looking at them and saying, wow, these are really good ideas. I've never seen it before. It hasn't gone down that way before, but that's remarkable. I think we ought to pursue that. So all that stuff is on the table, depending upon what the project is, where the funding is coming from, but there are extraordinary people that really want to get involved because maybe someone in their family was affected by how this, innovation can help them. A lot of opportunities, a lot of possibilities.
I want to share at least one of the, we'll say, products, innovations that you've worked on. Recently, you presented to one of the organizations that we both belong to. I'm not giving them a plug today. You brought in some information about an instrument that someone would put over their head, and its purpose is to make a difference with mental clarity, with giving mental acuity back to individuals who, per se, have dementia or Alzheimer's, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
If I look at this product, let's say I'm a newbie, I've just seen the information, it looks really cool, I want to help. How do I actually do that? And how do I know that this thing really works? Now, granted, you're going to do these unbiased scientific studies.
Right.
But up to this point, your belief, because you're bringing it to the marketplace and you're sharing it, is that it's viable.
In that particular case, there is a refrigerator filled of data. This technique has been used for the last 20 years for a different purpose.
Okay.
Every innovation that we work on, that we're going to do the validation study on, we have such data. It's usually millions of dollars and years worth of research that company has done. But because that company has sponsored it and paid for it, it's viewed as biased because they will assume you had an influence in the outcome of the study.
Right.
But back to your case in point, this mechanism happens to be a pharmaceutical device. So there is a hybrid or a mix of drugs that go into the body, which are FDA approved for one method, not particularly this. And then there is what's called transcranial magnetic stimulator that is
Love the name.
Sorry, that is worn on top of the head, and then a virtual reality headset. And under a very specific set of conditions, the patient is then almost hypnotized, if you will, and they watch this content, and the brain is then encoding that content as a long-term memory. Now, this is not a cure for Alzheimer's. What it is it's recurating the memories that they have lost or forgotten, and then reinserting them onto a different place of the brain where they stick, and they're there. So think about what that does for the quality of life for the person that now can remember the people in their family, their phone number, where they live, etc. The particular validation study for this one, we're going to do right here in our backyard. And it's very inexpensive. And we're going to take 12 patients that have early onset Alzheimer's, that cannot remember their spouse's name, that do not know their family, that don't know their address or their phone number. And in 12 weeks, they will have total recall of that entire part of their life recurated back in their brain, which they will not forget.
I'm going to be silly for a moment.
Yes.
We all do where did I leave my keys? I always put so-and-so there. It's not there. Can it be used for that everyday need to remember? Or is it only a device that's used for cognitive impairment that's been proven?
The patient, when not in the chair, is wearing a camera. And the camera is capturing the things that they do in their life. So if every day they throw their keys down or hang them up on a certain place in their house, that's captured. And later, when they're back in the chair in the 3 times a week visit, they're watching that again. And that starts to be re-imprinted in their brain to see their behaviors. The opportunities or the possibilities that this can take, that this can help you with go way beyond what we're doing in the first, if you will, bowling pin of bringing it into the market. Their life would radically improve if they could, they're like trapped in a cage in their own head.
Of course.
This is going to let them out of that.
Awesome. Now, that's just one thing that comes across your desk.
Right.
I know of a few personally that you've been looking at one way or another. I want people to understand it's not just about one specific area. You're looking at a myriad of things that come across, and you are able to say, okay, is this valid? Is this not valid? Can we get the backing? Can we get the research? What is the outcome that the individual who created this wants? And I have to be very candid here. I am confident that some of them just want money, that the impetus to bring these things to market may not be 1,000,000% altruistic. My opinion on that is, if you do something wonderful, you should be open to being reciprocate or receive reciprocation. What's your opinion of that? Do you think it has to be totally altruistic, where you just have to give it away and it doesn't matter if you see anything?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Look, my view is this: it's pretty flat.
It's pretty flat. Okay.
It really is. There's not a lot of drama to this. There's an innovation that improves people's lives.
Right.
The people that are going to have access to this are going to not suffer. Their lives are going to be enhanced, etc. The person with the innovation deserves to be compensated for that. There's nothing guilty about being the one that had the remarkable ability to forever change a condition that wasn't going anywhere. And giving them that reward probably incents other people to chase the same dream. We still have to grab the brass ring. Dealing with, wow, there are enormous profits that are to be made here. Guess what? That's okay, because those profits can be parlayed back into continued development.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with running something that's very profitable. By the way, the world runs on dollars exchanging hands.
Sure.
So this is an incredible economic engine, because even the philanthropic contributions are benefiting economically
Absolutely.
as these things come through the pipeline.